Mute. Right. Okay. Well, it's so wonderful to see everybody here this morning. And I see some of my hula students, which is fabulous because you will have a little treat at the end of a hula that we have all been studying for since early January 2nd. Anyway, growing character, that is a big topic. And know that I am going to be teaching the Zen Life series beginning April 8th, a series of 8 classes about the paramitas and going deeper into the spiritual path. So this growing character is part of that series, right? Paramita. And April 8th is the Buddha's birthday. What a perfect day to begin teaching. So character, right? When I told Roshi what I was talking about, he says something like, well, who's a character? Am I a character? Right? Because remember when you were young or even recently and you do something kind of stupid. And then you're feeling like all bad. And somebody says to you, well, it's good for your character. And you go, okay, now how is that good for my character? It's a koan, right? A modern day koan and a koan when you were little. It's kind of like I was thinking about my father. He was a character. He really had a good sense of humor. And he was also, we lived in the country, and he was known as the dog catcher of Kukayao because I guess whenever he'd see a stray dog, he'd bring it home. So we had a lot of dogs at our house growing up. And some big dogs, like some German short hairs. Anyway, if you weren't careful, you would step in a big pile of dog shit. And somehow, you try to avoid them, but somehow you're not paying attention, and there you go. And you're like, oh no. It's like, and my father would laugh and he would say, oh, you're going to have good luck today. And I would go, how does this equate to having good luck? Another koan for you to figure out, right? Another koan. So that's kind of like how it sounds. It's good for your character, right? So character, what is that? It's defined as the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, or just the decency of being a human being. So growing character is very much about walking the spiritual path. What we call here, empowering you to live a Zen-inspired life of openness, empathy, and clarity. That's how we speak about our spiritual path. It is based on Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and for sure that is a spiritual path. But we've been taking a secular approach with Buddhism for everybody. So, and it's also practicing the Zen Peacemaker's 3 tenets of not knowing, bearing witness, and the action that arises from that, right? Which if you really practice not knowing and bearing witness well, then some healing and loving action will arise. But those first 2 tenets are not so easy to practice, as we all know, because we're so attached, right? So we just don't want to let go of the way we see things or our ideas about things. And we're right and the other person is wrong, right? But can we let go of that opinion, right? Can we let go of that so that we're able to bear witness to what the other person is saying and also to what's arising for us? Really bear witness, really stay and not exit stage left, right? And get distracted, right? That was from a cartoon, right? Snagglepuss. I know I'm dating myself here. Okay. So, there are some of my hula students who have taken the Foundations of Mindfulness class, which is fabulous. I consider that really important because for me, that, you know, we've all been building character in our whole life. But when we decide, you know what, I'm suffering, I need something to guide me here. And then they come through the door or they, you know, register for the class and they say, okay, I want to learn something here. I want to learn something. So that's the beginning of a kind of character building. Not kind of, it just is character. We're building character through this practice. Because this practice is critical for waking up. And you say, waking up to what? Waking up to what? My life? Oh my God. Yes, your life. You're waking up to reality as it is. Absolutely. And can you be with it? Can you learn from it? And that's this practice. It's a way to be with yourself as you work through the complexities of your life. Some interesting neuroscience things that we learn in the foundations class, right? That our brains have a negative bias to keep us safe. We tend to remember the negative things in life more than the positive things. And our brains are absolutely fantastic at making up stories with very little information. And we go, that's it. That's the truth. And we know that just by sitting and being mindful of your breath, that is strengthening your prefrontal cortex that has everything to do with emotional balance, impulse control. You think you're doing nothing sitting there, but you're doing something. You're strengthening that part of your brain that can help you be responsive to your life and not reactive. And we also talk about how difficult it can be to sit meditation, to be with yourself for a long period of time, because we might not like who we are, right? We just might not be comfortable with who we are. And Tara Brach calls it the trance of unworthiness, right? We're not enough. For some reason, we think we are just not good enough. And so we have all of this shame. I mean, some people even hate to hear the word shame, right? But it's there. So we really have to work with that. And one excellent antidote that we've learned is loving kindness meditation. That somehow is it's simple. You know, you just say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. And you just keep saying that to yourself. And somehow it kind of rewires some things in your brain. It's kind of amazing. It's a very powerful antidote for when you're feeling not worthy. You just start doing this loving kindness meditation for yourself. And that's a kind of character building. And if you have a hard time doing it for yourself, well, then do it for someone you love. Imagine they're in front of you and just say it. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And then the practice is, pick somebody like neutral. You're standing in line at the grocery store and there's the clerk. She's really busy. So you could do it for her. Say the same thing. May you be happy. May you be healthy. There's something happening when you do that. Something. I don't know what. Mirror neurons are charging. I'm not sure, but there's compassion generating. It's compassion building. And then the excellent part is directing this to your enemies, people who you think are your enemies, right? That you have challenges with. That's very powerful, right there. To really picture them in your mind. It's just very powerful. And you see, when you do, may you be happy. You're seeing that they're human just like you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. The women at the jail that I haven't seen for a year that we sit meditation with, they love that one, especially. So then we, as in this class, we're noticing our mind is like all over the place, right? You notice, wow, I'm really surprised how busy, very busy my mind is. That is a good sign that you're noticing that. That is a very good sign. And then you go, okay, how am I going to work with this, right? Well, there's this old 2,500 year practice, shamatha, right? Of counting your breath, counting your out breath, really focusing on the mind, and you're starting to get embodied. And mindfulness is an intentional awareness that is embodied and without judgment, right? So you're learning about getting to be embodied, not just in your head, but through the breath practice, you're getting into your lungs. And then you're working with judgment because you're starting to notice, oh my God, I have got so many judgments. I have a judgment about everything. Oh my God. And here I thought I was judgment-free. Then when you start to really be precise about what you're thinking, this is this practice. It helps you to be really precise. You're going, oh, well, I think I can, I think I can change that. At least you can if you start seeing it and you're not so unconscious of it. Right, embodiment is hard because our culture is so head-oriented, intellect-oriented, but it is not impossible. Remember, our brains are neuroplastic, which means we can learn all the way up till we die. And we might have to work a little harder at it as we get older. The neurons aren't firing as fast as they used to when they were young. But with mindfulness practice, they start, resting, being able to rest and fire a little bit more. So we can learn. We can learn from our life. That's the whole thing, learning from our bodies. It's a big part of life. And this practice of not knowing, Bernie Glassman and his wife Jishu Holmes started to put these together. They were co-founders of the Zen Peacemaker Order. And he said this wonderful thing about not knowing. Not knowing has nothing to do with knowledge. My sense is that one should have as much knowledge as possible. Learn as many languages as you can, study as many fields as you can, Penetrate as deeply as you can. Learn all the tools and the techniques. Not knowing is simply not being attached to any particular piece of knowledge. In the same way, it is also not rejecting any piece of knowledge. You hear something and automatically say, that's ridiculous, forget it, right? What about if instead you said something like, well, that's interesting. Maybe that's possible too. It's another way of looking at it. So that's all of this is being able to kind of, I don't want to say sculpt, but it's kind of working with your character. We also talk about finding clarity, right? And the integrity or wisdom, finding clarity or wisdom. And the prerequisite for wisdom is integrity, right? Because it's important, to keep your word, right? That's integrity. What you do matters. So how we treat others and ourselves with respect matters. So just notice, and I do this as well, when you're defending or blaming others, or you're heavy and preoccupied with yourself, being a victim, ruminating, right? You're lost, basically, and you're blocking practice. You can't dance, you're stuck. So just be stuck, right? That's our Zen practice. Just be stuck and then, okay, breathe and then see, okay, how do I get out of this? How to be clear. And then there's this thing about the small self, the ego, right? We really have to kind of see through that self of ours, that ego. Can we appreciate that it's just a mental construct? We're so serious about ourselves sometimes. Yeah. So we talk about suffering, and in the foundations, we know the root cause of suffering is this self we've constructed because it's based totally on fear. So it causes a lot of suffering. So we have to try to open to gaps in our lives when it happens, because we can live a larger life. So that brings us to this bodhisattva path that we've been talking about, the path of awakened beings. Bodhi means awake, sattva means being. And this is a powerful path because it comes from the realization of your own potential. And it comes from this realization that you are a worthy person, totally lovable. And you have the potential to be without those three poisons of aggression or anger, passion or greed, and ignorance. A person with basic sanity and goodness. So here's a wonderful quote by Trungpa Rinpoche. This is the Mahayana. The Bodhisattva path is part of the Mahayana vehicle. The Mahayana brings greater vision and greater action. Heroism, celebrations, and excitement are all solidly a part of it. You begin to like your environment, and as egoless as you may be, you begin to like yourself. The appreciation of the world outside is called compassion, and the appreciation of yourself is called maitri or maitri. Unless the two are working together, it is a dead end. Trungpa, he just tells it like it is, you know? So, right, compassion and maitri working together. And so the Mahayana path, the Bodhisattva path, begins with the discovery of bodhicitta, this awakened heart-mind. So again, right, the question, what are you awakening from? You're awakening from the three poisons, right? Passion or greed leads to possessiveness, and it's connected with the attachment to pleasure. You never want to eat at home, but always want to go to restaurants. Or you constantly want to watch TV. I've been there many times. All right, aggression is the second one, aggression or anger. It leads you to use all your energy fighting others and becoming somewhat macho. Remember, there was a song about the macho man. I was trying to remember it. Anyway, and ignorance, right? It creates a feeling of general dullness. You begin to spend all your time in bed. So these are problems we face and we have to work to overcome them, right? But actually, these three poisons are not regarded as deep-rooted problems. They're simply phases, or you could call them obstacles. The problem with these situations is that they occupy your time and space. So they prevent you from being in a state of wakefulness. So relative bodhicitta is how you involve yourself in the world with benevolence, fearlessness, and kindness. It's the manifestation of your friendliness and deliberate training, and it's helped a great deal by the experience of vipassana meditation, insight into the true nature of reality with the practice. The practice is really important. So these qualities, the paramitas, I love how Trungpa calls them techniques of non-grasping. Isn't that great? Techniques of non-grasping, because we're always, our culture is very much is one of gaining, right? Grasping. So these are techniques of non-grasping. And it's the essence of how to be a bodhisattva. They've also been called perfections. And Trungpa calls them transcendent disciplines. Transcendent disciplines. And they're not, you shouldn't look at them as like a set of principles or rules, but more like a system of training. And the aim is to put into practice this certain manner or quality of a spiritual life. And a good analogy for this would be physical training, right? Physical fitness. So to train, you have to do this on a regular basis, shaping your life around different aspects. And things will come up for sure in your life where you can practice this. So, when you first, we just did the Bodhisattva vows at the end of our meditation, right? Those 4 vows we chant 3 times, right? Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to open them. And the awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. So those vows that everybody's taking here now, so you're all bodhisattvas here doing the vows. So you have some understanding of the nature of the commitment you're making and some faith in this awakened heart of a bodhisattva, but you still need something beyond that. You need an understanding of egolessness, right? Egolessness. So you can only be a bodhisattva. This is according to Trungpa Rinpoche. You can only be a bodhisattva if you give up the idea of attaining enlightenment for yourself. Instead, you enjoy working with the paramitas, with the basic energy inspired by taking the vow. You're really helping others, but also you're helping yourself as you practice this, because training and enlightenment, Dogen says, are not two. So just a little bit about emptiness, which we also touch in the foundations class. This idea about emptiness, also known as shunyata. What is shunyata empty of? Right? Empty of maintaining oneself, right? But this emptiness that we talk about is not negation, because the bodhisattva path is a positive state of existence with a lot of creativity, and that's what we need now. But if you don't give up this idea of me and mine, you could be in a difficult situation. Me and mine, there's that self again. You can't give up this idea of self. Trungpa says, this is a fantasy concept in the same way that there's a flying saucer in the sky is a fantasy concept. Although, who really knows, right, about those flying saucers? So shunyata, this concept of emptiness, is not anti-life. It's actually the basic reason that life can happen, because it represents nothingness. If there is nothingness, then there is everything, then there's fullness. Emptiness is fullness, that's what we say. It includes everything. So this idea of basic goodness, right, which we all have, are, all right, you do not have goodness for your own sake, but for the sake of others. Otherwise, why do you have goodness at all? I like that question. So, the foundations of mindfulness, if you haven't already taken it, is really a wonderful way to begin this journey on the spiritual path and working with your character. You're coming home to yourself when you meditate. You're seeing what you do, practicing non-judgment and opening to yourself and to the world. So, of course, I have to include my hula practice because it is very much not just about a pretty dance, right? It is a deeper practice also of respect for all beings, respect for yourself. Hula started, as strictly a religious service, maybe in the year 1000. It was ceremonial, they had religious orders. And there were specific repetitious movements to mesmerize the gods and entice them to be part of the ceremony. And then it became part of common life. Hawaiians thought of themselves as an intricate part of nature, not separate like we here in the Western world, who are kind of stuck in our rooms and we see the computer a lot. This is our reality. It's hard to forget about the environment outside of us. That is who we are. I was invited on Thursday by Northwestern University's multicultural student affairs to teach them the spirituality of hula. And, this coming week is final, so they weren't sure how many, would come. There were 32 signups, and actually about 15 showed up, which was wonderful. And when I started talking, most of them had their cameras off, except the director, who had come here 4 years ago for a session because he was training to be a mindfulness teacher, which is great. And so he remembered me and invited me. So they just had their cameras on, everybody's was off. So I talked a little bit about the spirituality of hula, and I said, okay, now we're gonna get up and dance. And then immediately about 5 or 6 cameras went on because I invited them to turn their cameras on, because then I could see them and I could, be relational, know what they're doing. And then 5 immediately. And I started teaching them this dance that we've been working on since January, Kaiona, the goddess of the lost. And I've been having really great feedback from people because I've asked people to write about this. I talked to my sister, she said, I've been kind of having a hard time, and I didn't realize I was lost, but I was lost. And I said, yeah, that's, that's the gap we talk about, right? You're in a gap here. So can you just be in the gap with it? So we've been dancing this. This is really a dance of compassion because it's saying there are so many distractions, beautiful and interesting and exciting distractions. So much, right? Our focus is not here, right? It's everywhere else, and then we get lost in that in our heads, right? And then so what we're doing, we're seeing, we're human, we have all these desires, and we're generating this motion of generating compassion for ourselves, for our hearts. We're seeing, we're bearing witness, and we're just being with, without judgment. And again, you know, it's saying we're like birds, just immediately drawn to a flower, the strength of that, right? That's their food, the nectar. It's these distractions are so strong. It's so beautiful and entrancing. You know, such is our mind, so jumping around all over the place. And the third one is about, yes, sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's dark, right? And the path, especially of relationships, can be so slippery and uncertain, right? That's a challenging part, is how we work with others. And that's how we work with ourselves too, with our own emotions, which we're trying to get precise about, you know, how are we feeling? What are we needing? So we can be skillful in meeting our needs versus reactive and never getting our needs met by calling names, by, you know, whatever we do that's not skillful, and they just go, well, I'm not meeting your need. And then there you are in your mood, you know, you're just totally upset. And then that final verse of, each of us in Hawaiian, it's very poetic, the language, comparing a flower to a human being, right? And this fragrance, it just pervades the universe, this wonderful fragrance of a human being. Although I've been reading a lot about wilderness and about the tremendous human population and how that is changing the the environment for so many, and so many species are becoming extinct. So there's that as well. But this song is about how we, which I also believe have this, there's this energy that we have of love, compassion, kindness that pervades the universe when we're in touch with it. And when we can actually listen to this deep stirring we have within, this deep, can we bear witness to that? That's all character. Can we stay? What is going on here? Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's sadness. Can we be with it? And that's the story of this song and of this amazing sparkle and luminescence of our hearts, this awakened heart of compassion. That is this song. And I've asked my hula students to write a little bit about this. And Shu Ping wrote this amazing thing. I wanted to share it. And she said it was okay. She couldn't make it today. But she says, what does the hula song Kaiona mean to me? Wandering was me since the girl in senior high, continuing till now in my 40s. The heights I've been trying to reach up, went to college, working at the ER and overseas volunteer nurse, living in the cities and trying to keep connection with nature. Taiwan is where she's from. It's a beautiful island also. Traveling to explore and trying to understand the world we are living in. And now dive in the love with family life, friendship from in-person to e-world, and the spiritual paths. My heart knows all up and downs, especially when I got lost on my wandering and continuing researching from the outside world. Like Kaiona's, the goddess of the lost in Hawaii, her favorite bird, Eva, I flew out far away from many places in Taiwan to Vientiane, North India, Caribbean, Dubai, USA, in order to find and see more here and there, constantly searching and chasing my paths and dreams, what the searching nature of our heart. Kaiona, Hawaiian goddess of lost, I'm here calling you from my heart. Let your light connect with mine, and let's keep the connection open. Your story told us to send our call from the heart when we need help. You would guide us to see and find our paths. Pay attention when the Eva bird around, and of course the open heart, an aware mind to listen. I shall find my way back on my path again and again. Life is like climbing the mountains, many ups and downs. Enjoy the open views and achievements when you reach the highland. Be aware of the steep downhill roads. They might be very slippery and cause you lost balance, like the challenges we face in our daily life. All this, two ends of the polarities and in between, my heart and heartbeats know and say them all. However, now I know and assured more than ever that beautiful flower with gentle warmth, joyful fragrance is no different than me. When I fully open and connect with my heart, Kaiona is embodied within me. This is my story, and it's my pleasure to share with you. Before it ends, let me send out my aloha to you, and let us exchange the breath of love once more. And I think Carlene also had a poem to share. Carlene is another hula student. She just finished the Foundations of Mindfulness class with Gwen, who's also here, and she's in Ontario.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share a poem that is by David Wagner, and it's called Lost. And the story behind the poem is that it's based off of it's a teaching story in Native American tradition, apparently in the Northwest of the United States. And it's something that my understanding is something that then an elder would explain if a child or a young person said, you know, what do I do if I'm lost in the forest? Because apparently at that part of the world, forests can be huge trees, which can sort of block out your visual sense of direction. But this poem, when I heard it and read it, just reminded me very much of the story of Kaiona, as well as the things that I'm learning through the Zen Center. So I'd like to share it with you. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger. Must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes Listen, it answers, I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again saying, here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Isn't that David White, you said, Carlene? David White?
David White actually has read it. He read the poem, but it was written by a different David, David Wagner.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I see Shu Ping is here. Oh, if she would come, she could have read her beautiful poem. But anyway, so I wanted to dance it. We danced it for you about 3 weeks ago, this dance. And now they've been, dancing it, embodying the story. So I want you all to watch again now, 3 weeks later. So if you would stop your video, then all the dancers will come together. This is kind of dancing hula is really a group effort. So if you would stop your video, and I'll be dancing too, and all the dancers will come together. If you're not thing, okay. All right, so here we are. We are going to dance Kaiona for you again, for the goddess of the last, all these beautiful, beautiful dancers here. Okay. Thank you. Great, thank you. At the multicultural club, the women there, the young Black women, one of them said, I feel so beautiful dancing. And another one said, I'm so glad I made time for this today. Thank you. It was, so, any questions or anything that any of the dancers would like to share? Or any questions about the talk?
June,
Yes.
I just have to say that I was moved to tears watching the dancing, and I can't explain it, why that happens, but it's so beautiful. And I feel that it just touches a part that I can't put words to.
Right, it's your embodied experience. It's hard, it's nonverbal, and I know that feeling.
Thank you to everybody.
I did this for the Heart of Compassion Sangha also. I talked about the spirituality of hula and dance, and one of the comments was, this is like a big hug. Thank you. And I was like, great. I want this to be like a big hug since we can't hug each other. I was like, we did. It was good. That's good. Because I had Gwen there and Carlene was there. And who else was there? There were a couple more people there that danced with me. Yes, was anybody going to say anything? Oh, look, I see Pat from Colorado is here. Yay, Nadeji. Right, nice to see you. And Lauren is from Atlanta, right? Gwen and Junko are from Chicago. They're hula dancers. Tanya, did you see Tanya dancing? Tanya and Julie? These are Zen people who are taking on this hula path too, which is so fabulous. Oh yeah, that was the other thing that Eric said, Eric Budzinski at that Multicultural Affairs at Northwestern. He said, hula is an act of resistance because you are resisting those voices, the voices of the inner critic, of the perfectionist that says, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not coordinated. You know, you're resisting that when you dance. And he felt wonderful as he was dancing. It was great. There were two men in that workshop. It was wonderful. Hula is an act of resistance. Yeah. I wanted to read a poem that I wrote because I've been doing these monthly Zen and hula workshops, the path of Zen and hula, the third Sundays of the month. It looks like it's what it's going to be from 1:30 to 4:30. And after the last one in February, we did a little writing practice. for just 10 minutes. And this is what came out. Kaiona, blessing, love divine, heart healing, sweet, sweet love, heal this world. Open our eyes, mend our broken hearts. Let love soothe the flames of anger and fear and hurt. Bring tears to cleanse and nurture growth. Let misunderstanding become awareness, the turning of the Dharma wheel. Beloved Kaiona, goddess blind and deaf, who hears cries for help with open heart, mahalo, gratitude, deep compassion flowing like a river. So, I don't know if you noticed a little more depth in the dancing this time, right? When we were with something for a while, you can go deeper into the message of the song and kind of reach in and tell the story from a deeper place. Because hula is about telling story. And I want my dancers to reach in and tell that story with emotion, because it's a good thing. Very nice job, everybody. Thank you, dancers. Really, really appreciate that. And you're coming today, and thank you, everyone, for listening so intently. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Next week, spring solstice. Yay!